Welcome to Truth Seekers.
Hello, friends. Good morning and welcome to the Seiker Podcast on Service of Change Radio, where we challenge reality, question that which has been taught, and hope to inspire a new direction of thought and bring about change. I'm your host, Dennis Nappy II. Today is Monday, July 6th, and we are starting off our work week feeling very, very positive. Although for me, I am currently not working, which is a good thing, enjoying my summer vacation, my time with my family. Just celebrated the holiday weekend, the 4th of July holiday, celebrating our nation's independence, and I have to say it was a wonderful time for the family and I. We got to spend some time on the beach, relaxing. We went to a barbecue, and celebrated some fireworks, saw some fireworks from the beach. It was just a really nice weekend, and I was sure to take some time to just reflect on what Independence Day means. And as I said on Friday before we left for the weekend, freedom is responsibility, and I hope that resonates with those of you that are listening. It's not just a gift that's given us. It's just not a right that you wake up and suddenly have. It needed to be earned, and it needs to be maintained, not necessarily by force and violence, but through your actions as consumers, as citizens, as conscious beings. Something to think about. So I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. I certainly enjoyed mine, and now we're back at it again with the Seiker Podcast. I've been doing a lot of work trying to just get their Service Change Radio set up and to find a good flow. The Auto DJ software, which allows me to just play this consistently throughout the day, is not what I was hoping it would be. It's not what I was expecting it to be, but adapt and overcome. And, so I think I have a pretty good system set up now for it to work. So right now what we're looking at is I'm still going to be doing a new episode of the Seiker Podcast Monday through Friday, and that will air, the new show will air every morning at 9 a.m. I'm going to play that on a loop from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Eastern Time, so you can catch it at any point during your morning. And then from 3 p.m. until, 9 p.m., we're playing Changecast archives, and we'll have our new Changecasts coming out on there as well. I'll have a special time for that schedule. And then from 9 p.m. until 9 a.m., I'm going to be playing archives of all Seiker podcasts that'll play overnight, so you can catch them and listen that way as well. So many times to listen just go to Service of Change Radio. If you have a mobile device, please download the Service of Change app. It's free. Just go to servicechange.com, click on the app banner. It says click to download the app, and once that app opens up, just right-click or hit your menu button on your mobile device and save it to your home screen. You get a nice little Service of Change icon on your desktop. Right now, we just have a link for articles and for Service of Change Radio, but there's a lot of updates coming to the Service of Change app. But you can definitely just listen through your mobile device while you're driving, while you're walking, whatever it is, so you can get our most recent Changecasts, and now the Seiker Podcast is on there as well. Also having some issues with iTunes. Our Changecasts are still on iTunes. I'm working on getting the Seiker Podcast up there. Has not been fun working with the website. The hosting provider's not been the best for what I'm trying to do here. But like I say all the time on our Changecast, it's a no-budget operation, so I'm working with what I've got right now. So hopefully that website will start running quicker for you soon. I've been putting a lot of work behind the scenes trying to get that up. But our latest articles are right there at servicechange.com. Go ahead and check them out. I should have some new ones coming out this week. I've been so distracted with just trying to get this radio station up and running because I think it's important. I think that the message, with our ChangeCast and ensuring positive change is very important and motivational for people. And then the Seiker Podcast that I'm doing each morning. The information I'm talking about, like I said, I think it's very important information. It's information that everybody needs to have. I wish that it was an easy conversation for people. Unfortunately, it is not. I'm talking about stuff that at times is uncomfortable, at times that may be unbelievable. But believe me, I've done my homework. I've had my own experiences. I'm not alone in the things that I'm saying, although they're not popularly talked about, even among conspiracy theory and paranormal circles. So I encourage you to listen to all of them, listen to our archive shows. I'm also uploading them to YouTube. I have 2 out of 3 uploaded right now. This one and the other one will be uploaded some point today. So hopefully by the time you're hearing this, you can check them all. It's just go to servicechange.com/radio and you can check out click on the Truth Seekers logo there, and that'll take you right to the Seiker Podcast, and the archive YouTube shows will be on the left-hand side. So I think going through a lot of plugs today. I want to talk about out-of-body experiences this morning, in particular those of experiencer Robert Monroe, founder of the Monroe Institute. I reference him every so often, definitely a role model of mine for what he has done. He has since left this realm of existence, but his book, Far Journeys, was his second book. His first book was called Journeys Outside the Body, where he explains, his whole system, his whole out-of-body experience. And it's such a fascinating story. And, he's such a genuine soul, a genuine guy in at least listening to his books and his interviews and what he talks about. He had a background in, I want to say, communications with television and radio production. And I believe what happened was they were experimenting with different sounds for the user experience. Long story short, one night he's lying in bed and realizes he is looking at himself lying in bed, and he was actually on the ceiling, floating on the ceiling, looking down at himself, having this experience, and it freaked him out. So he went and he got all sorts of tests, psychological tests, to make sure, and they ruled, you're sane, there's nothing wrong with you. So he started working on this and realized he was able to do this at will. He was able to leave his body and eventually realized he was able to go and explore things. And he was able to go explore in such a fashion that he could verify what he was seeing. He was leaving his body, he's going around, he's seeing stuff and saying, I was really there. It wasn't a dream. This actually happened, and I was able to see that. So he started doing some actual research, and he pulled in other experiencers, other researchers to do serious science with him. One man by the name of Thomas Campbell, author of My Big Toe, My Big Theory of Everything. He is a NASA scientist, a NASA contractor right now. He has his own stuff on YouTube. He has his own book, like I said, My Big Toe, which is actually broken down into 3 audiobooks if you're interested. And he breaks down the physics behind everything. And, his work challenges our current perception of reality. But again, the man's a physicist, and he has done some very good research saying, basically, this is a real event. People leave their bodies, and they do it regularly, but we can't do it consistently and at will without practice at this point. Now, I don't know. I believe that this was something that at least the ancient shamans in the past used to do on a regular basis. And with practice, like I said, we can do it. I've had a few experiences where I have left my body and some strange things have happened. And I also think that those conditions where we're encountering, as I've been talking about in our last 3 podcasts, some people call them shadow beings, the archons, those parasites, I think it's in this out-of-body state. I think it's in the transition between being in our physical bodies and exiting our body. And that's what the paralysis is that we're not quite exiting our body, but our consciousness is still kind of shifting between the 2 bodies that we're, changing form in. So Robert Monroe ended up founding what was called the Monroe Institute. And this is where they did all their research. And it's still in existence today, where they offer different courses, different training seminars, and do a lot of research with out-of-the-body work. And they've developed what's called hemisync technology. And what hemisync is, they use binaural beats, which creates a 4 hertz signal. Basically, they play, let's say, 100 hertz in one ear and 104 hertz in another ear. So in the center of your brain, those waveforms bounce off of each other and create a 4 hertz signal. And they found that induces the out-of-body state. And they have these really advanced tapes with all sorts of different tones and signals, a lot more complicated than I'm explaining here. So they have what's called the Gateway Voyage program, where people go to the Monroe Institute in Virginia, and they are given these experiences. Now, not everybody has the out-of-body experience, but a lot of people have these very profound, insights and moments through meditation, through using this technology. So I encourage you to do your research on that. I think, in my opinion, I think that this stuff should be offered in every single school around the world, as it helps improve consciousness, it helps improve understanding and awareness of exactly who we are. It's not religious in nature by any means, but it does give people a more profound connection to themselves, to the universe, and to know who we really are as human beings. So Robert Monroe had, this going on in his life. He was a pioneer and explorer. And I want to talk about something that I've only ever heard one other person briefly mention in an interview and in a podcast, and this is so important to I think, to the research that I'm doing and in my upcoming book, Food for the Archons. And again, I keep encouraging you to go to serviceofchange.com/IamHuman and subscribe with your email to read I Am Human and We Are Not Who We Think We Are, or you can purchase the book through our online bookstore at serviceofchange.com/bookstore. Because this book, it starts that journey. If you're listening to this and you're going, Nappy, you're crazy, read the book at least and understand where I'm coming from, because I took the time to write it and put my thoughts in a little bit more clear manner than me just freestyling in a podcast. Okay, read the book or go online and read it, because this is who we are. There's more to us than we realize. And like I said, in a portion of it, I reflected on nature, and I was trying to understand, why is there so much suffering in this world? Why do people have to feel such pain and anxiety? And this tied into my own personal feelings on religion. But I started looking at nature, because I was trying to find a better way of life, a better way to exist. And I said, well, I'm going to be one with nature. That sounds serene. That sounds peaceful. But I started studying nature, and I started coming across, just watching at first the Discovery Channel growing up as a kid. And you watch when one animal feeds on another animal. And it's horrific to watch. Sometimes you hear the dying animal screaming. The look in its eye is fearful, at least based on my human perceptions. The animal doesn't seem to be enjoying being eaten alive by a crocodile, by a lion, or a spider, or whatever it is. It's a horrible process. These animals, when they die, they suffer, they feel the pain, and that is nature. So nature is beautiful, but nature is also a very lethal, torturous killer. There are species of wasp that capture their prey, numb them, and inject them with their larvae, who then eat the host alive slowly over a period of days and weeks. This bug is alive while the larvae are inside it, slowly eating out its insides. So when I tried to be one with nature and think I'm going to live a peaceful life, I looked at that and I said, well, by design, we're designed to kill. In order for us to live, something has to suffer or die. That was I'm sorry for sounding so bleak, but this is what I'm looking at here. And I really started asking myself why. And I actually wrote, in one of the chapters here, the way I ended it was, why did God design our existence to require the death and sometimes suffering of all forms of life in order to survive? If God was so loving, why was the very basis of life dependent on death, and why did religion seem to reinforce the importance of such suffering? Growing up Catholic, we were meant to suffer. We're sinners. We have to earn our right to go to heaven. It's as if they're being told it's okay to suffer. You have to suffer because that's what being a person means, because we're sinners. I have a problem with that. I really do have a problem with that. I don't want to suffer that way. And, some of you say, well, who am I to question that? I'm somebody who wants something better. I'm somebody who wants something better for my children. So I had that moment of when I read Robert Monroe's book, when I came across this section that he talked about. He was exploring, and he was encountering other intelligences, other conscious beings in his exploration out of his body. And they were teaching him things, and they were showing him things. Now, I'm still trying to understand this passage, this section that he wrote about. I know that after he experienced this, he went through a depression when he realized this stuff. Now, he came out of that depression, and I guess with a renewed sense of hope, but I still don't understand why. I'm still trying to understand this whole piece here and how it ties into everything. But on face value, this is, I guess, the smoking gun to everything that I've been talking about and things that other researchers like John Lamb Nash talks about when he talks about the archons and this energetic parasite that feeds off of mankind and human existence. And I'm going to read a few excerpts from Robert Monroe's book, Far Journeys here, and I'll give a brief overview. And he had this experience where they said, look, we're going to show you something. And what they're able to do is implant your consciousness into, it's almost the equivalent of watching a movie, but they implanted his consciousness to have this experience where he was seeing what sounded like creation. And it talks about this substance called Loosh, which is basically energy that emanates that the universe feeds off of. It's the energy that the universe needs for, I guess, multi-purposes. I'm not sure exactly what it does, but it's some form of energy that they get to feed off of. So this substance Loosh, hold on, let me look for where I want to begin with this. They had what was called a garden. They started a garden. And this garden was designed to grow some Loosh. And he created all different types of crops. And each crop, he enhanced more and more to produce more of Loosh and a better quality of the Loosh. So, the first crop he talked about, it didn't grow much Loosh. The second crop, what he realized was, it said, often two mobiles would seek to ingest the identical second crop unit. This created conflict, which resulted in physical struggle among two or more of the mobiles. So he had a crop that was basically plant life. There was a crop that was mobiles. And he noticed, this creator noticed that when two mobiles, the two creatures that were able to move around and fight over the plant life, basically, it created more Loosh. So conflict created more of this Loosh substance, more of this stuff that produced energy for these beings. So the creator decided he's going to create more beings with more ability to create conflict. So that was the goal of these creations, was to have them in conflict. So he ended up designing these creatures so they had different abilities. Some had larger teeth, some were really fast. He went through all these different ways that were going to enhance conflict and ultimately the battles between them, because that's what produced that Loosh form. So I'm paraphrasing here. So he said he designed into them a pattern of balance. There were those that ingested a second crop type of carbon cycle unit, basically immobile, as an energy source. There were others very highly mobile who required for energy the ingestion of the other mobile first crop units. Okay, so you have your plant eaters, and then you have your meat eaters. So he designed the meat eaters who could only survive by eating those that ate the plants. So every level it was by design, because it's the conflict that he's after. Okay, that's not this beautiful, peaceful Garden of Eden, blissful balance. That's designed for conflict to produce Loosh. He added many varieties of stationaries, the secondary crop, to provide sufficient and diverse nourishment for the new mobiles he was to create. He made such mobiles into balance of two species. Where are we at here? Those who ingested and drew energy from the second crop stationaries and those who required other mobiles for sustenance. He created them in literally thousands of originals. All right, I'm skipping around here again. I just want to read. He then realized that there was another more purified type of Loosh that was coming out. Because once they got the Loosh, it talks about how they had to go through and distill it to make it pure, to make it usable. So then he started noticing there were flashes of Loosh that was even of a higher quality. So what he found out was that when another crop was defending its young against a predator, the fear of that protection was really creating that purest form of Loosh. So now think about our lives. Think about the fear that we go through when we're afraid for somebody we care about. As a parent, every single day you're afraid your kids are going to get hurt. Okay, that fear is really a high producer of Loosh, is what he talked about here, and that is what ties into my research. But he goes a step further and said that he noted another unusual inconsistency. He suddenly, where are we at here? I'm sorry. There was another fourth crop unit that was experimental, and he gave that, when he created that unit, he gave it a piece of himself, a piece of consciousness, a piece of awareness, a piece of spirituality. And he noticed that it was standing alone under a leafy upper portion of a Seiker crop unit. It wasn't hungry. It was not in conflict with another fourth crop unit. It was not acting in self-defense, but it was emanating such a high quality and quantity of the Loosh that he desired. And he realized that the unit was lonely. It was producing such a high quality of Loosh through loneliness. He also notified that it became aware of its presence. This being became aware of the Creator's presence, and it collapsed and basically started crying. It was from this that so he says the creation of pure distilled Loosh is brought on by type 4 units, 4 modified units, with the action of unfulfillment, but only if such a pattern is enacted at the vibratory level above the sensory bounds of the environment. The greater the intensity of said pattern, the greater the output of distilled Loosh. Okay, so he designed subtle changes in his garden, all of them familiar to every historian. What he did was he split of all crop units into halves to engender loneliness as they sought to reunite, and the encouragement of dominance of the type 4M unit are but two of the most noteworthy innovations. Okay, so first he creates these crops to build conflict and create suffering. And then he understands that, well, when they're protecting the ones they care about, that creates even more Loosh. And then he realized, well, when they're lonely, they create the most purest form of Loosh there is. So he created the genders, male and female. He cut them in half. So we have that constant sense of loneliness, always searching for that other half and always searching to connect with that greater, higher consciousness and that higher spirituality. So by design, we on earth are made to suffer. Read the book yourself. Read I Am Human is your best starting point. serviceofchange.com/I Am Human. My apologies for sounding a little bit jumpy as I'm going through this. I was kind of paraphrasing, reading through the book. But read I Am Human, serviceofchange.com/I Am Human. This sounds absolutely terrible. I went through a Great Depression when I first came across all this information. But what I'm saying to you is you don't need to be afraid. You don't need to be upset, because there is hope. And this is not, I made a promise, I'm not fear-mongering. I want you to understand this information because I know there's a better way. I believe there's a better way. I believe all hope is not lost. There are things that we can do. And that's my aim here in these Seiker podcasts. Okay? So look into Robert Monroe and understand his credibility and why I'm quoting his research. I'm still trying to understand this story he talks about in his Far Journeys book. It's found roughly on starts on, I'd say 162, if you want to look it up yourself and read it. But I'm trying to understand how that, exactly what this all means. But on face value, it definitely does seem to verify everything that I'm talking about. So, and I have other sources as well that I'll be looking into and talking about as well. But please check it out. It's very, very important. And, if you have a better understanding of that, I'd love to hear it. It's like I said, I'm doing research for my book right now. And this is definitely a big part of it. So please check it out. Check out, again, serviceofchange.com/I Am Human. Sign up for our newsletters. I'd love to hear from you. That is all the time we have. I probably went a little bit longer, but this is such an important topic. I'm Dennis Nappy II on the Seiker Podcast with Service of Change Radio, where small changes among the masses can have a massive impact around the world. Please keep an open mind and never stop questioning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to Truth Seekers.